Okay, team, let's try again. So this will be my third attempt at this because my other videos have not worked. But welcome to another level up session where clarity creates confidence. So today I'm going to jump into the topic of supplements and what actually matters. So this is something I get asked a lot about supplements. So I thought it would be a great opportunity to jump in and have a chat about it. Before we get started though, I just want to quickly say that everything covered in today's session is for educational purposes only. So it is general information based on experience, current evidence, and what I see working with clients. So it's not intended to replace your individual medical advice, diagnosis, or any treatment. If you do have any underlying health conditions, are pregnant, or are currently taking medications, please speak with your healthcare provider before introducing any new supplements. And remember, what works for one person may not be the best approach for another. So that's why everything I do is individualized, and I work with what's going on with each client and when to add in supplements and what's appropriate for them. All right, so let's jump in. You should all be able to see my screen. So supplements, what matters and when? All right, before we actually jump into the different supplements, I just want to go over this pyramid here. So supplements are exactly that. They are supplements. They're not the foundation. If the basics aren't in place first, no supplement will make a meaningful difference. So if we don't have nutrition, training, sleep recovery, and our daily habits, if we don't have that in check and we're not consistent with that, our supplements really aren't going to do much. So if you think of the bulk of this here, 95% of your results and your progress are going to be based on these, and the 1 to 5% is your supplements. Okay, there are a few key supplements which I will go through today, what I do recommend for the majority of people, but all the other, the other supplements, they really will only add 1 to 5% of your results. This here is the basis of where you're going to get your progress. So you need to make sure you're training consistently, eating appropriately for your goals, sleeping well, and managing stress. Now, if you are doing all the things to help you sleep well, which we'll go through a little bit later, and managing your stress, but it's still not quite enough, then that's when we can start looking at certain supplements that help with that. But there are lots of things to go through before we get to the point where, okay, we need to supplement here because X, Y, and Z now aren't working enough. So the first supplement, creatine monohydrate. All of my clients have been told to recommended to be on this. It is the most researched supplement in the world, and one of the few with consistent, proven results across multiple goals. So, with creatine, it has two main functions. So we've got performance. So it's going to increase strength, support muscle growth, and improve recovery. So for that, you need to be having 5 grams a day. So 5 grams a day saturates the muscle. Even on the days that you're not training, still have your 5 grams. So 7 days a week, it's something that should be a staple in your diet every day. The other function it does have is it helps with the brain. So enhancing cognition and may reduce that mental fatigue. It helps maintain energy levels during cognitively demanding tasks, especially when your sleep is low, and it does help to improve your short-term memory. The difference with the benefits for the brain is in the dosage. So the higher dosage, the 10 to 15 grams or even 10 to 20 grams a day, goes beyond that actual muscle saturation, and that's what boosts the brain creatine levels. Okay, so that's also going to help help improve your memory, your mood, mental performance while you're under stress. However, sometimes taking that higher dosage can lead to a bit of bloating just because it does draw water in. So, it is recommended that if you are taking those higher doses, to take it across the day. So, for example, I have 15 grams a day. I take 5 in the morning, 5 at lunch, and then 5 in the evening. So I spread mine out across the day. I don't actually get any bloating with it, but I still spread it across the day. So if you are going to take it for those other benefits, yeah, that might be something you want to look at, is just spreading that out. So creatine, what to look for when you're buying creatine? So always choose creatine monohydrate and look for CreaPure, okay, because that is the gold standard in creatine. So it's a purity blend which is produced in Germany, and it's often has better solubility in water. There are lots of fancy creatine supplements out there. You've got flavored creatine, you've got creatine gummies, chewables, all different types of things. But at the end of the day, you really just need your basic creatine. It can be mixed into absolutely everything. So it can be mixed into your yogurt, your coffee, any drink that you have throughout the day, because it doesn't taste anything and it dissolves really well. So it's so easy to have that there's no point going and spending like double the amount on creatine that's flavored or chewables or anything like that. So yeah, and creatine's pretty affordable. I think it's about $30 for 100 serves. So yeah, it really is good bang for your buck. But they're the two things to look out for. Is if you do want the benefits of the brain boosting and memory, and delaying mental fatigue, then do your higher dosage and just make sure you're having creatine monohydrate, and more specifically looking for that CreaPure label. So if I actually go back, you'll see here, this one here, creatine, it's got the CreaPure up here. So a lot of the supplement pictures you'll see are either ATP Science or Switch Nutrition, because they are the two brands that I work with and I recommend. I do also work with The Healthy Chef. So across those three, I find really good quality. It's hits the mark where it needs to, and there's a lot of research backed behind them as well. All right, so the next supplement that we have is protein powder. So protein powder is not essential, but it is actually really practical. So think of it as a tool for consistency and not just a replacement for whole foods. So the reasons why protein powder is, good to have is it makes it a lot easier to hit your protein targets, especially if you're doing strength training. Your protein target is a little bit higher, so or in a like extreme weight loss phase, protein targets are a little bit higher. So really good way to hit your protein targets. It's super convenient, really easy to mix up in some water, some milk, chuck it in your smoothies, whatever you do it with. Really convenient. So you can even put some in a container, pop it in your bag and take it with you, and you're less likely to go and buy fast food if you can easily just make up a protein shake. It does have lower calories versus having a whole meal, and they can be quite easy to digest. So there are three main forms of protein. You've got your whey protein, which is fast digesting. It's great post-workout for muscle recovery because it is very fast in digesting. Then you've got your plant protein, which is ideal for clients who are like dairy-free, vegan, vegetarian. The only thing I would say with your plant protein is just try to stay away from some of the rice blends. Okay, there's some of the testing for the rice used in the rice blends has just not been the greatest. So just stay away from the rice blends, but plant protein is a really great option. Another good thing with plant protein is, just say you want to have a protein shake for lunch as a meal replacement, you will actually stay fuller for longer with plant protein just because it takes a little bit longer to digest. So you will stay fuller for longer. And then you've got your collagen protein. So that really helps to support your skin, your joints, and your gut. So just remember that protein powder is a really good tool for consistency. It doesn't replace whole foods, but it can be really versatile, a good way to hit your protein targets, and you can use it in a lot of cooking. So if you're making oat pots or chia pots or, brownies or anything like that, you can put protein powder in there just to get that extra protein in. The thing that I'm loving at the moment is I have a Ninja Creamy, and I actually make a protein powder, milk, like half a banana and some mango, blend it all together, chuck it in my Ninja Creamy, and turn it into an ice cream. And really, really easy protein ice cream, low calories, and tastes amazing. So that's a really good option if you've got one of those ice cream makers. The next one, we've got hydration. So hydration is really an underrated tool. So just looking here, a key statistic, we've got a 2% drop in dehydration equals a 20% drop in performance. Now, I swear by this because hydrating in the morning before training is key to really good performance in the gym. So we wake up dehydrated, okay, because we lose fluids overnight. We lose them through breathing and sweating, and then we often will wait till we're thirsty to drink, but we're already dehydrated when we wake up. Or when we get up, the first thing most people do is have a coffee, which is going to dehydrate us even more. So hydrating first thing in the morning is really important. But adding electrolytes into that water really helps to support absorption of the water where it needs to go. So in the morning, very first thing that I do, I fill up my whole shaker with some hydrate and drink that before I have my coffee. And since doing that, I have not had to have pre-workout to go to the gym. So, and sometimes throughout the day, I'll actually have another hydrate depending on what I've done. If I've sweated a lot, if I've, had too many coffees during the day, I will have another hydrate as well. So yeah, really, really good addition to your routine is hydrating in the morning with electrolytes. So if we look here, we wake up dehydrated. Most of us drink coffee. We tend to skip water because we've had coffee, and then we train underhydrated. And that means then our training performance drops. Okay. I can tell you if you start hydrating really well in the morning, your training performance will be incredible. Okay. So over time, having multiple coffees a day, training, and living in a hot climate, all of this adds up really fast for us to become dehydrated. And by the time we go, oh, I'm thirsty, that's already too late. Okay, so we need to start hydrating from the minute we wake up. So having a look here, there are a couple of different hydration supplements. So I've put this one here in the middle, Hydralyte, because everyone sees this all the time. It's in the supermarkets and it has a really, really key place, but it's not for performance. All right. So the primary purpose for this Hydralyte is when it's like medical hydration, when we've had illness, where we've had diarrhea, vomiting, we've been sick, we've got heat stress, we're hungover, all those type of medical reasons. That's where that Hydralyte comes into play. When it's your daily hydration, these two products here are great. So we've got Hydrate from Switch Nutrition. That's the one I use. have it every morning. You can take that every day. Okay. It's also got a couple of other performance ingredients in there, like your taurine and your coffee berry, that really helps with energy and cognition. So that's why I find I don't need pre-workouts anymore, because I have this. So yeah, can definitely use it for every day. Sodium, potassium, magnesium, calcium, so all the electrolytes that you need. And then you've got your performance hydration electrolyte mix from ATP Science. So these are both specifically for like performance and that daily hydration, whereas this one here is more for like medical reasons. So again, kind of briefly going over Hydralyte, think of it as your first aid kit. So something's happened and you need to rehydrate like quickly. So yeah, your vomiting, your diarrhea, your heat exhaustion, that type of thing. Whereas your Switch Hydrate is like your daily performance tool. So that's a really good way to think of the two of them and when to use them. The other thing that I just wanted to touch on with hydration was that electrolytes are crucial minerals that carry an electrical charge. So they play a vital role in how the body functions. So when they're present, they fundamentally change how your body processes water. So they help to pour water into your cells for actual cellular hydration. So they maintain proper fluid balance throughout the whole body. They support critical nerve and muscle functions, and they regulate the blood pressure and pH levels. So it means that your body can actually utilize and benefit from the water that you're drinking. So yeah, really, really key thing there. And like I said before, another key thing, wake up in the morning, have your water, have your electrolytes, and replenish those fluids that are lost and the minerals that are lost as you sleep. Okay, still definitely a place for coffee, because I can't not have my coffee in the morning. I just have it now. But yeah, always have my electrolytes first and then I have my coffee. All right, next up is magnesium. Okay, so this is a foundational mineral. Magnesium is involved in 300 plus biochemical reactions in the body, which means it impacts almost everything. But it is estimated that 50 to 70% of people don't actually meet their daily intake of magnesium. So, yeah, it impacts everything. If your sleep, recovery, energy feels off, magnesium is probably one of the first things to look at. It is something that I recommend quite often, straight off the bat, because, yeah, like I said, a lot of people are actually not meeting their daily needs of magnesium. So it's really important for the body because it helps muscles contract and relax. So low magnesium equals cramps, tightness, poor recovery. Sleep and the nervous system. So it actually calms the nervous system and supports GABA. So GABA is our relaxation neurotransmitter, and that's why magnesium is often linked to better sleep. So a lot of sleep supplements will have magnesium in them because it does really help to calm that nervous system. Then you've got energy production. So it's required to produce ATP. So that's our body's energy currency. So if we've got low magnesium, we're probably quite fatigued. And it does play a role in mood regulation. So low levels are linked to anxiety, low mood, and brain fog. So the reason why so many people are low in magnesium is because of our modern diets. We're eating more processed foods than ever and fewer whole foods. And processed foods are very, very low in magnesium. But even if we are making healthy choices with our food, our soil is not the same as it used to be. So modern farming actually means that foods contain less magnesium because of soil depletion. Then we've got lifestyle factors, high stress, high caffeine intake, high alcohol, and all that depletes magnesium faster. Then we've got our training where we're sweating. So active people who are moving and sweating a lot do tend to lose a little bit more magnesium. So the big takeaway is magnesium isn't just a nice to have. It's really a foundational mineral for performance, recovery, and health. Now, the daily RDIs, which is your recommended daily intake, is 310 to 320 milligrams for women and 400 to 420 for males. But that RDI, recommended daily intake, is for overall elemental magnesium. Now, this is going to get a little bit sciencey, but you need to always check what the elemental magnesium amount is on the label and not the total compounded weight. So what happens with magnesium is we have magnesium and it has to be bound to something to be able to be carried and used in the body. So a lot of supplements will actually have the total weight of that compound, but that's not actually what the body uses. So let me just have a look here. So there's different types of magnesium. Okay, we've got magnesium glycinate, which is really good for sleep and relaxation, citrate, digestion, threonate, brain and cognition, orotate, cellular energy, heart health, and endurance. Okay, they're the four main ones. So when you're looking for a magnesium supplement, when you go to, say, the chemist or Woolies, and you see all the supplements there and they say magnesium, it'll often only be one type of magnesium in that bottle. Sometimes they'll have two. Most of the time it's just one. So you do want to look for a magnesium blend. So Switch Nutrition has the Multimag Perform, but they also have, if I go back here, ATP Science has this Mag 4, which has all four blends of magnesium. So in saying that, multi-blend magnesium is really good, but you need to know how much elemental magnesium there is. So I've got here this is a label. So we can see here we've got the 4 blends of magnesium. We've got the label amount here. So 540 milligrams. Yeah, sweet. That's great. Like, that's really good. That's hitting my RDI. It's everything I need. But the elemental magnesium is only 35 to 40 milligrams. Okay, because this here is the whole compound. So it's the carrier and the magnesium together. So although this whole serving has 1,750 milligrams of the magnesium blend, you're only getting 200 milligrams of elemental magnesium. So that's roughly half of what you need, or just over half for females, which is really good. But it's good to know that how to read the label for magnesium, because you might be going, oh, sweet, I'm getting all of my recommended daily intake, whereas you're not actually getting all of it. So, for example, magnesium biglycinate is magnesium is paired with glycine to make that compound, but you're getting 75 to 85 milligrams of elemental magnesium. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. If you've got more questions on that, just reach out. I'm always happy to have a chat. But yeah, I just really wanted to point out that it's not always what it seems on the label. So yeah, just got to be a bit careful with that one. All right, we're going to briefly have a look at sleep supplements. So sleep supplements really should be a last resort and not your first step. So I do get asked a lot about sleep supplements, and the first point of call with sleep is fixing habits. So making sure you're hydrated and your magnesium levels are good, and then look at other supplements after that. Okay, so making sure you have consistent sleep and wake time, super important. Reducing screen time 30 to 60 minutes before bed. This is a big one. And I challenge you to do this for a week. So, an hour before you go to bed, put your phone away, don't look at it, and you'll see what a difference that makes with your sleep. Okay, it really does give your brain a chance to switch off and not be stimulated and be able to get ready for that sleep cycle. So, same with dimming the lights and cooling down the room. Definitely limiting your caffeine after midday and having a really good wind down routine. So, whether that's reading, stretching, breath work, any of those things, you'll be surprised how much that really does impact your sleep. So, for example, I will often lay in, like on the lounge room floor, and stretch before I go to bed. And as soon as I do that, my body instantly knows, okay, it's bedtime, and I'll start to get sleepy. So it's pairing those parts of your routine with sleep to prepare yourself for bed. And it could just be doing some coloring in. So sometimes I'll do some like coloring in. I've got like an anatomy coloring in book, and yeah, even that triggers my body to go, okay, it's time for bed, and you start to, your body just knows and it starts to wind down. Staying hydrated throughout the day and your magnesium levels. So yeah, talked about those two just before, but super important. It does really make a big difference with lots and these other things that you might think you need supplements for, but just fixing those few key things can make a really big difference. This supplement here, Sleep, from Switch Nutrition, is quite good. It does have magnesium in it, so it has 300, off the top of my head, 320 milligrams of magnesium, and it has other ingredients like ashwagandha, so like your KSM 66 ashwagandha, other ingredients that really do help relax your body. But like I said, like it's quite an expensive supplement. So if you don't need to spend that, then how good, if you get your hydration and your magnesium up there, then you may not need that. So there are lots of other things to look at first. And that's why it's really good working with a coach, because we can track your sleep, and in your fortnightly check-in, you mention about your sleep. So yeah, they're things that we can look at. So your supplement cheat sheet, really good little quadrant to have a look at. Creatine monohydrate, strength, brain and recovery, minimum 5 grams daily. If you do want it for that brain function, up in that 15 grams a day. So beautiful one to add in. Protein powders, not essential, but really does help to hit that protein target easily, and super easy to digest, low in calories, all that type of thing. Your electrolytes, your hydrate. So hydration and performance, really, really big thing. This is something that I've been doing for quite a while now, and having that in the morning, key difference to my training, key difference to how I feel throughout the day. So yeah, that's if you've got questions about that, please reach out. And magnesium. Okay, it's going to help with your sleep, your recovery, your energy. As long as you're getting in that elemental magnesium, then it has so many benefits throughout the body. Okay. So the golden rule of supplementation. Supplements can help, but only once the basics are in place. All right, think of them as that final layer that you're going to add into that pyramid. All right, remember to concentrate on training, nutrition, sleep, hydration. That's going to drive the majority of your results, and then all the other supplements add that 1 to 5%. So, really big thing to think about is there's so much hype around supplements. And don't get me wrong, I've fallen into so many of those traps, because it's like we all want, it's human nature, we want that quick fix for, things that we're struggling with. like, oh, I can't sleep, I just want to take something in and help me sleep, rather than looking at, okay, well, what else is there? You know, so many supplements out there have this flashy packaging and, you know, catchy slogans and all these things that go, oh yeah, I want that because I want that outcome. Whereas those outcomes don't really come from the supplement. Okay, it comes from all the other things that you're doing. And then once you've nailed that, then we can go, all right, maybe we want to have that little extra 1 to 5% advantage. So yeah, lots of things out there, you know, like your fat burners and pre-workouts and all of these things that, yeah, really, really draw us in and make us spend a lot of money. And trust me, I have been there. I have spent lots of money on supplements. And now, you know, just knowing so much more now than I ever have, I don't want you to make that mistake. So yeah, I've recommended my key ones, and that's what, yeah, they will make a big difference. And all the other stuff is just noise. Okay, it's just noise and fancy marketing, and yeah. But don't get me wrong, there is a time and there is a place, and everyone's different, and that is why your coach is, you know, looking at what's happening with your stats and what's going on and what we can add in and all these little things that might give you that little bit of an edge if we know that you've got that foundation right. So, yeah, the other thing I recommend is finding someone in the industry that you trust, whether that be me, whether that be somebody else, that you trust to give you the right advice around these things, okay? And that aren't just going to sell to you because they can. And yeah, find someone that you trust. And, you know, there are people out there that are a lot more educated in this area than what I am, but those are the main ones that I wanted to talk about, and the ones that I do really feel are beneficial and aren't just there as a gimmick. They really do make a difference. Awesome. If you've got any questions, reach out. I love this topic. Yeah, and looking forward to the next session.